Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. Just getting my crap together a little bit too late, just like kind of the Oilers tonight.
I I read or I heard someone talking about proper lighting of video, so I have a new light, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you notice how much more handsome I am tonight, but it's due to the lighting.
Oh, oh, well, that's good. All the help you can get, right?
I take it you didn't notice that. All the help I can get. All right.
No, it does. Now that you mention it, it does seem to be more sort of centrally focused.
Well, your lighting has always been way better. You've always had the good lighting. I don't
I've
know.
got this LED tracked writing. It goes right around
Oh
my
yeah,
room.
there you go. You're in sense
So,
around.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard if you have to light from above and from below, is
Uh-huh.
otherwise your eyes look like dark orbs. So,
Right.
so anyway, there you go. There's the ticket. All right, Bruce. The Oilers got slaughtered.
Oh.
The AHL, one of the semi-AHL version of the Oilers got slaughtered 6-1 in Winnipeg. I don't put any weight in any of these scores. I'm not bothered by it in the least. I'm just curious about how players look
Mm-hmm.
and which players have the potential to play for the Oilers and make a positive difference. That's all I'm looking for in these games where they're basically going with, 3/4 AHL team. And I saw some players tonight, Bruce, that I think can help the Oilers. And in particular, one who surprised me, and we'll get to that in a second. But we're just going to go without. It's a 6-1 loss. There's lots of mistakes,
Yeah.
lots of screw ups. The team didn't play
Yeah.
particularly well, but um, Winnipeg had 10 of its top 12 scoring forwards. The Oilers didn't have squat really in terms of scoring from the NHL perspective. Connor Brown, maybe. But
Brett Kulak was their top scorer from last year, and he was 12th on the team.
there you go.
And Winnipeg had 10 of their top 12,
Yeah.
including, Shifley, Connor, some of their
Yeah.
real top end players, Oilers. So it was a mismatch.
It was. But I actually found it quite an interesting game because I was quite curious about watching a lot of these players who I haven't seen that closely. And I got a bit of a sense of some of them. And Bruce, we're just going to go with Oilers positives tonight, and we'll go with two each because I like to do that kind of counter narrative
Mm-hmm.
take on things. It's just my personality. Let's go with your first Oilers positive. Who would that be, Bruce? Or what would that be?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think I'll go with Noah Philp, who had far from a pristine game, but he did make some things happen out there. There was a few guys that were kind of disappeared into the woodwork for me. And of the guys that were all sort of battling for the 4C spot, among them uh, Lane Peterson, James Hamblin, and well, Derek Ryan was playing on the wing. Um, that I thought Phil did the most positive things in the game. Made a couple of real nice passes to Drake Kajula, and he for real, fine scoring chances. They used him on the power play a little bit, and it was a little bit of a surprising choice. Though when you look at the choices that they had, probably wasn't all that great. Uh, he did. I mean, one time he made a real good defensive play to break up a problem, and then he circled behind the net, and then he tried to cut between his man and his own goalie and coughed the puck up, and sort of the chance that he took away, he kind of gave it right back. And he's got to learn from stuff like that. That in this league, the fractions of seconds are even more fractional than they are in the AHL, and that what looks like open ice probably isn't. He did. He had a good shot on net or at nets, but he fired a real heavy shot, but unfortunately thudded it off the backboards. I got a secondary assist on the Oilers goal. by
Yeah.
getting the puck over the line and working it back to the point for the shot that was tipped home. And real nice play right at the end of the game on the rush to pull up and then hold and find Max Wanner as the trailer for a decent at least look from the slot. And that's classic centers hockey. Think Leon Draisaitl pulling up and finding the late trailer. It was that kind of a play. Nice to see him not only try it but actually execute it. On the other hand, he took a slashing penalty for being a little over exuberant on his opponent and shattering his stick in the process. Uh, a couple of let's call them learning opportunities that came along in the game. They all had a few of those, and hopefully some of them will have learned a thing or
It,
two, because
yeah.
this is a higher level of player for many of these guys, and they're used to seeing in the AHL or heaven forbid the ECHL. When all of a sudden you're going up against the likes of uh, Connor and Shifley and Pionk and Lowry, heavy, experienced, hard NHL players, skilled
He likes to be a
NHL
bully,
players.
that Lowry. He likes to bully
Oh,
people
that's
out
his
there.
game. Why wouldn't
Yeah,
he?
he's totally a bully out there. I really noticed it tonight. He's such a jerk. Gotta love
No,
it for a hockey player.
that's what you'd like if he was on your team.
He sure would. He's a
He's
total jerk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a very strong third center in
yeah,
my books. Love to have that player as a 3C.
I hear you, Bruce. Um, yeah, Philp, I noticed like there was the couple of really good offensive plays. Bruce, he looks like a player to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think so much of being an NHL player is your ability to read the game and fit into a team concept, move the puck to the right spot, make that the right play under pressure.
Yeah.
And I noticed the number of players who aren't that bad at it on the Oilers. So like on this roster, like all the NHL players on the team.
Right.
But um um Dineen, the defenseman Cam Dineen, he's got that quality. His problem is he's a left shot guy, and
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of full of left shot players. Like it's a tough place to make the team. But you know, I noticed it with him, and I noticed it with Philp constantly. That he reminds me of a bigger kind of Derek Ryan, with a better shot. Like he looks like an NHL hockey player to me, and I'll be surprised if he's not on the Oilers at some point this year. He just looks like he could fit in. Now that said, he did have one bad moment in the first period defensively where I think there was a turnover. They were about to get it
Mm-hmm.
up. There's a turnover, and he failed to collapse in and cut off a cross-seam pass that led to a one-timer shot off the post.
Oh,
That was
right.
him. That
Right.
was on him
Okay.
because he didn't get back with his stick in the right spot. Now he's got to do that, right? If he's going to
Mm-hmm.
be in the NHL as a fourth line center, got to
Yeah.
make that play. He's got to be more aware of that. So that was, players. No, there's no perfect defensive hockey player that I've seen in the NHL yet. So they all make mistakes. The Jets had a lot of skill in the lineup. I think that was a Connor shot off the pole. Oh, I can't remember.
Oh.
Anyway, he did make that mistake, but I am impressed with his game overall. In the short amount of time that I've seen him now, 2 games, he just seems like he gets it. He seems again. I think I hold to my Brodziak comparison. He
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of Kyle Brodziak, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a reasonable comparator. Now we'll see if he's that good. Kyle Brodziak played more than 900 NHL games and became a pretty decent hockey player.
Sure
So
did.
so Phil has a ways to go in getting even to that level of being a solid fourth or third line center as Brodziak was in his career. But he's big, he can skate, he seems smart. I think he's defensively responsible, and I think he's defensively aware, notwithstanding that one play that I detailed. So I agree with you. I think he
Mm-hmm.
was a bright spot in the game. Bruce, my first bright spot will be Connor Carrick. This is a player I was alluding to earlier. He's very similar to Cam Dineen. Like they're not big guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both under 6 feet tall. I think Carrick's around 200 pounds and Dineen's under that. They're both career, at this point, minor league defensemen who put up about a point every second game in the minors. And Carrick's played a good number of NHL games, though.
Yeah.
They're the kind of player, like, you don't usually win Stanley Cups with players like this on your team because they're smaller defensemen. But both of them are really smart with the puck and calm and can make plays. And in a pinch, if you get some injuries in the regular season and you need someone on your third pairing to step in, here's your guy. And I think Connor Carrick, his huge advantage over Dineen is he's a right shot. And he just looks super confident with the puck. He made all kinds of nice plays with the puck all game long. He was in the right position defensively. I don't think he got burnt on. I can't recall him getting burnt on any of the goals against. And I liked how he played the game. I think he's a smart, effective, in the Normie McIver mold. Normie McIver being at the top, at very top end of this kind of defenseman. This is going back a bit for younger fans, of course, but this is what we tend to do, being fans of a certain vintage. But that would be the top end. Well, actually, Reijo Ruotsalainen would be the absolute top end of this kind of defenseman with Norman McIver. It's harder to think of more recent defensemen who have excelled on the Oilers. Smaller guys, really smart, good puck movers. I can't really think of anyone.
More recent? Marc-Andre Bergeron is more recent than those guys that you named.
He was a bit of a Bruce. He
scored a point every 2 games in the NHL, as I recall.
He did. He offensively, but he was a bit of a dunderhead, like now and then, wasn't he? He had that, that Grubishkov quality of 95% good player, 5% secret agent for the other team. So Bergeron was, but you're right. Bergeron's not a bad comparable. Go ahead.
Carrick and Dineen led the D-Corps with 3 giveaways each tonight. That was their issue.
Is there stats? I didn't know they kept stats.
There's actual NHL level stats for the first time.
How much did they play? Did they have time on ice?
Yeah, they sure do. They got the normal event summary, which
Could you just give the time on ice for the defenseman?
I sure can. Almost the same, really, for all of them at even strength. 19 minutes for Kulak. This is total time. 18.5 for Emberson, 19 for Carrick, almost 21 for Hofmeier, who played a lot on the power play, 19 for Dineen, 18 for Wanner. And at even strength, they were all sort of much of a muchness between 13.5 and 17. So they were rolling them over the 3 pairings over the boards with regularity. And why wouldn't you in a game that was, well, it's a preseason game, so by one definition, it's garbage time for 60 minutes. But tonight's game was, garbage time in terms of no longer in doubt, and Winnipeg in complete command from 5 minutes into the second period at latest.
I'm just going to segue, Bruce, into my second Oilers positive because it's another defenseman. And we're just talking about the defenseman now. Ty Emberson is my other Oilers positive tonight. And he had a few rough moments. There was a kind of a weird line change. Apparently he ran into the lineman and Max Wanner got on the ice late and it was a 3-on. It was part of a problem on a goal against, not really Emberson's fault. And there was another, what was the other goal against where he was partially to blame? He got a pass in the neutral zone that went off his stick and he chased it into the offensive zone, which I believe was the right play, but nobody covered for him. So it ends up as a, maybe he should have been more cautious and called off the chase, but nobody covered for him. And it ended up as a 2-on-1, but Kulak bit and he lost the puck battle. So it's a breakaway for Kyle Connor and they scored. So Emberson was at fault on that play. He lost the puck and lost the puck battle. Right. But if someone had only covered for him, then there's no problem. But of course, there's 3 of the players out there are forwards and they're not known always for covering for a defenseman. But Bruce, Emberson, I'm going to say he reminded me, and this is not, some people are going to blanch, I think is the right word at this comparison, because it's not a popular player. But he reminded me a lot of Cody Ceci.
I had an idea you might say that.
Because did.
At least he's not $3.25 million, which was one of the big beefs about Ceci.
Well, that's it. He's paid at the right price. Now I think he's a bit more fluid than CC. CC was kind of a non-fluid player, but
little
still got the job
herky-jerky, eh?
done. But okay, what we're talking about is a really smart defenseman
Mm-hmm.
who is sound positionally defense, generally speaking, and can move the puck. And I was actually really impressed with Emberson's calmness with the puck and his passing with the puck.
Yeah.
I don't think he's any kind of
Oh,
offensive hockey player. He's not going to, like, when the Oilers are cycling the puck in the offensive zone and it would go back to Cece, good things didn't happen. And I don't think good things are going to happen when they cycle it around and it goes to Emerson. He's going to make the rote pass. But he will now and then move in and try to get off a shot. But he's not an offensive hockey player. But he looks like he's an adept defensive hockey player to me,
mm-hmm.
and a decent enough puck mover. And he just reminded me, okay, here's a guy, like, he's a little smaller than CC, not quite as wide as CC, about as tall as CC, but maybe a little bit better skater, and maybe a slightly more adept puck mover, and probably a sounder defender. So someone who can replace Cody Ceci, which is not a bad deal for the Edmonton Oilers at the price tag that Emberson's at.
Right.
If he can continue this up as the
Right.
play gets faster and faster. There was 2 plays, Bruce, that really impressed me with Emberson. The first one, he made a mistake in the neutral zone. The puck was shot out of the Jets zone, high into the air, and he tried to glove it down, and he missed it.
Oh,
This
right.
led
I
to
remember it.
a 2-on-1 where 2 players broke in. It was Lambert and Velarde. So Velarde's going down the wing. It's a 2-on-1 with Kulak, and Emberson's charging back into the play after missing the puck.
Mm-hmm.
And Kulak goes down Darnell Nurse style to flops on the ice, and he gets beat by Velarde on the rush. So by now Emberson has caught up to Lambert, and he does the smart thing, Bruce. The thing that I always complain about that never happens. He covers the danger man. He doesn't go for the puck carrier, Velarde. He knows that that's the goalie's job. The guy with the puck in the modern NHL, the goalie will take him. You count on the goalie to make that first save, and he did. He counted on the goalie, and Stuart Skinner either blocked the pass or blocked the save. He got a little bit on it, but the puck nonetheless came across the crease right to
Mm-hmm.
Lambert. And who was there covering the danger man, lifting a stick in the air? Mr. Ty Emberson. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, we might have a hockey player here. We might have an NHL defenseman, because this is what NHL defensemen do. They cover the danger man. And the Oilers defense have been, pretty good at that. It's the forwards who really struggle with it on the Oilers, because they always are attracted to the puck like mosquitoes to the light. And
I wrote
mosquitoes to
about that play. It's my first comment on Emberson. Unable to glove down a high puck in the neutral zone, he made up for the turnover with a fine defensive play on the edge of his crease. And to me, the finest thing he did was he bloody stopped when he got there. He didn't
stopped at the
skate
net.
past the crease. He stopped at the net and he identified Lambert and he lifted his stick just as the puck came through. And even though it was, his mistake that led to the 2-on-1, he erased that mistake with that play. So,
and you know what? The tendency is, when players make a mistake on the puck and
they
leading to
go for the
2-on-1,
hero
they
play.
they go for the hero play. They charge right at the puck. They lose their minds. They charge right at the pucks. And you see this even with NHL hockey players. Like,
Mhm.
strangely enough, but the really good NHL players don't do that. And
Mhm.
he was playing some old man defense there, and I
Yeah.
love that. So that was the first one, and then there was a 2-on-1 in the third period where he
Mhm.
played it perfectly and deflected the pass away. And again, he everything about his positioning was right, and his backward skating was strong enough to hold with the play and then make the play, read the play, and thwart the pass. Excellent defensive play on a 2-on-1. And the Oilers had trouble, the Oilers defensemen last year, stopping 2-on-1s, especially early in the year when it was a disaster. So yeah, I think Ty Emerson's he's at least the third pairing right shot defenseman on the Oilers this year. And we'll see if he's more than that. They used CC in the second pairing with Nurse, and that worked until it didn't, and then it fell
Right.
apart. But I'm going to suggest, and again, not everyone's going to agree with it, it was largely on Nurse, who struggled every, CC, when he was away from Nurse at the end of the year, was okay. When he was with Kulak, he played solid enough hockey. Not perfect. He made mistakes, but he was hanging in there. It was Nurse's game who really came apart. And it's Nurse's game that's going to be a big part of the Edmonton Oilers story this year. He's got to turn it around. But I think Emberson is a solid, capable hockey player who really moves the puck pretty well and might work with Nurse okay. A lot's gonna depend on Nurse, but I think he might be able to hold up his end of the bargain. So I was encouraged by that a lot.
Yeah, well, he certainly showed some good things, and I like his cool.
Yeah.
When he's in a puck battle, it seems like he's keeping his eyes and his ears and his sort of mind open for making the sort of tying up the puck and just identifying where's the teammate, just tapping it over to the guy, not making, just making the easy play to the open man, which sounds really simple. And a lot of defensemen can do it and make it look simple. And I think he might be one of those guys.
Sounds simple, but some guys don't do it, do they? They don't.
No, not all the time.
Tonight's game was like a couple defensemen really struggled to move the puck, and we'll talk about that when we get to the cuts that we think are going to happen here.
Okay.
What's your final Oiler positive of the night, Bruce McCurdy?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to go with good old Connor Brown. Wearing the A for the Oilers tonight. Him and Janmark and Kulak were sort of representative of the old guard of Edmonton Oilers and wearing the letters because this is always a fascinating game to me, the trip to Winnipeg, because none of the established players want anything to do with this trip. And it's hard to blame them because they have to pile onto an airplane in the morning, fly to Winnipeg, get out, do the warm up, do the game, then get back in the plane, fly home to Edmonton. It's a long day. And the guys you tend to see in this trip are the guys that are on PTOs, like Mike Hoffman, the guys that are just the career grinders, like Ethan DeYoung, who, this might be just any old game for a veteran NHLer, but for a guy who's played a lot of hockey over the years, this is one of the few times in his life he's going to get to wear an NHL sweater in a game. He's going to give it his best shot, and the team is just such a hodgepodge of youngsters and veteran minor leaguers and even veteran Oilers who are, sort of bottom pairing, bottom six type of players pushed up the lineup because they're the best that are in that particular game. So everybody's kind of out of their element, but you can learn a lot watching games like that. And it's every September they have that one game in Winnipeg and that one day trip and the lineup. And it just depends. Do the Jets really want to ice their A team and cream the Oilers like they did this time? Or do they want to go with sort of a middle team and just beat the Oilers? Anyway, this was a creaming. And
I was really impressed with Brown's speed. He's picked up where he left off last game. Mm-hmm. And that was really encouraging. Like, we're not seeing the Connor Brown of last year. We're seeing the Connor Brown of the end of last year.
Right.
When he was flying out there, and he was flying tonight. And that's why I agree with you. I thought he was
I didn't get to that park. I got
distracted by your Winnipeg soliloquy there.
What Brown was doing was what he does, which is playing with speed, disrupting the other guys. Like his forechecking and his, I don't know it's not quite forechecking when it's in the neutral zone, but he's really good in the neutral zone, just sort of not allowing free passage through the zone, especially on the penalty kill. They send them down, they retrieve the puck, and it's not like they just coast back into the Edmonton zone. They got to get through him and Janmark typically. And they're both pretty good at the disruption thing. And of course, in this game, he actually was the guy who finally broke the goose egg and scored on the deflection late to at least get Edmonton on the board with the consolation goal. Two road games now, 2 6-1 losses. They scored first in Calgary and last in Winnipeg, and in between they gave up 12 in a row. So those are the last 2 games I watched. So it's a little bit of shell shock at this end.
I don't really. Score doesn't bother me. So Bruce,
it doesn't matter.
Connor Brown reminds me a little bit of a 1970s when Connor Brown is at his best. I'll say
Mm-hmm.
this. When he's at his best, he reminds me of a player from the 1970s. And he's not consistently as good as that player. He hasn't been, at least in Edmonton. But he reminds me a little bit of Ron Ellis
Yeah.
in terms of his doggedness on the forecheck and his clean play. Because Ron Ellis was a super clean hockey
Was
player,
he ever?
not physical, but dogged. Like got in
Mm-hmm.
there, dug for the puck
Yeah, he
fast.
didn't back down from anyone.
He was a bit better moving than like offensively. But he's got that kind of Ron Ellis aspect. And of course, Ron Ellis was one of the heroes of the 1972 Team Canada team that beat the Russians in one of the formative events of my life, Bruce, was watching
Mm-hmm.
that series because it
Mm-hmm.
made me a hockey fanatic for the rest of my days. Was that so? I always have fond memories of Ron Ellis. Bruce, let's move on to the cuts. They've made a series of cuts already, and none of them are a surprise. So players released from PTO and report to Bakersfield or loaned to Bakersfield are Jasper Weatherby, Brett Brochu, Connor Corcoran, Alex Canuck-Liepert, Cameron Wright, Matvey Petrov, Connor Unger, Jaden Grube, and James Stefan. So these are the first
Right.
tranche of players to Bakersfield. I don't have much to say about any of them other than to say that what I saw in one game from Matvey Petrov was super disappointing. Um, I don't know.
Penticton was no better.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was very. I was expecting quite a bit from him in Penticton to be one of the top players on the team, and he just didn't really stand out. Dave, just to clarify slightly, the first 5 of the 9 were released from PTO, and they are all except Jasper Weatherby, who signed a PTO with the Oilers. The rest of them are on AHL contracts, so they attend
yeah,
NHL training camp technically on PTO, but they were
sure.
always destined for the AHL. Brochu, Corcoran, Canuck, Liepert, Wright. Those are 8 minor league players. A couple of them probably wind up in the
Yeah,
ECHL. And the other 4 are young forwards who were always destined there. And you and I think, agreed that this is only the start of the Bakersfield camp that's going to get another big boost from guys cut from tonight's game. And they'll have 14 or 15 guys by the time the Oilers get through making a few more cuts, which will probably be announced maybe even tonight, but certainly tomorrow morning, I would imagine.
well, Bruce, let's go down the list of players who are in tonight's
Sure.
game, and we'll say, we won't talk about the NHL players, but
Right.
everybody else, whether
Yep.
they'll get another exhibition game or not. And I'll start, and then we'll just rotate. And I'll start
Okay.
with the O'Reilly kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think he's going to junior after this game. He
Mm-hmm.
he he really wasn't that in the. He did okay. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
look out of place.
Right.
Didn't make major mistakes, but he didn't really make his mark in the game. And unless they really want to keep him around just to experience Edmonton a little bit more, I think he's going back to junior after this game. It's my
Mm-hmm.
call on that one.
Well, he's played 3 games in 4 days, David. I mean,
Could be
that's,
tired.
and he played 3 games in 4 days at Penticton, so they certainly give him every chance to play. But I
Yeah,
think the idea is let's give him the early games and let's get him the hell back to London because their season starts on Friday night.
yeah,
So, let so and I agree. This is exactly what I wrote. Flanked by a pair of NHL proven wingers, Janmark and Brown, didn't look that out of place on a checking line.
yeah,
And that's exactly what you said. But his underlying numbers were pretty bad. They got caved. He moved around in the third period. It was like 8 shot attempts to 20 or something while he was out there. So the puck was spent a lot of time in Edmonton territory, and he looked a little bit overmatched. And a few of them did, and he's an 18-year-old kid. It's not a surprise, nor should it be an upset that he did well to get the 3 games, and he showed some things. He got a goal, and he can go back to London feeling pretty good about himself. And maybe they sign a contract before he goes. That wouldn't
I
surprise
think so. Or soon.
me.
Okay,
Yeah.
who do you got, Bruce?
Okay. Well, I'm looking at the list in numerical order. Drake Kajula, he's been kind of all right, but again, he's played 3 games in 4 days. And Coach Knobloch was talking about the last 4 games being different from the first 4, where he's going to start going more and more with NHL lines and even, sort of NHL team. And it's going to look a lot more like the Oilers than anything we've seen to this point. And I think he could be the odd man out and included in the Bakersfield group. He might be the next cut, but I think he'll probably be in the one to come. Let's call it tomorrow.
I agree with that. Matthew Savoy, I think he'll get another game or two. He was pretty nowhere to be seen for the first couple periods in this game. Didn't get a lot done, was losing a lot of little battles, as Bob Stauffer noted. But he came alive in the third and made a few really high skill plays, rushed in and deked some players and put one off the post and he made a couple nice plays at the end of the game. And it was nice to see that class from him, because I'm not that familiar with this player.
Right.
And I'm starting to, wonder, like, okay, why the excitement? So now I saw that high level of skill. And I think he'll get another game. I don't think he'll be cut tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, no reason to rush that one, because he's going to be an option to help the team this year, and they might as well like give him another look. Like, he's at the high end of the AHL team, and they're not cutting everybody off with this game.
No.
They'll cut it back to a reasonable number and give the Bakersfield camp a critical mass of enough players to run a camp. So it's finding that balance.
Okay, next up.
Seth Griffith, who was -2 in this game, and as I recall, he was burned on one of the goals, and a little bit out of place on the power play goal, shorthanded goal against, which was really a cluster sequence.
Yeah.
But he also he showed his class. You can see he's a good offensive player, and he's comfortable in the offensive zone. And he got a nice shot from the slot. He had a couple of moments, but he's on an AHL contract. And I think the AHL contract guys are all going to be in Bakersfield to start that camp. So I think he's gone.
Same goes for De Jong, number 37th, and I didn't really notice him much. And the next player on the list is Noah Philp. I think he'll be around, Bruce, for one or two more games at least. Like, he's going to keep playing, because he's an interesting guy to watch. What say you?
Yeah, he's played three games out of a possible 3. Seeing nobody could play both split squad games, and he might get the next game off. In fact, I think all of those guys that played the 3 in a row won't play on Friday. Is it?
Friday?
Yeah. And then they have 2 days. Saturday. Right. They have 2 days off now.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think they will keep Philp around. Like, he's in the battle for 4C, and to me, he's showing more than the other guys in that battle.
Okay, next up,
James Hamblin, who's in a similar boat as Noah Philp, and he, to me, had a less noticeable game than Philp, but he did have some good moments in it. It wasn't like he was invisible. And I think they keep him too, and they sort of, keep sort of 6 centers floating around to participate in that battle. And there's, no rush to move out a guy who played 31 NHL games last year.
I agree. I think Hamblin looked good. He looks like, again, he's a smart hockey player, I think, and he's got wheels. So he's got a couple NHL qualities, right? Where he can fit in as a bottom line NHLer, and he certainly knows his job, which is to hustle, check, not get scored on, and try to get some offensive zone time. Keep it super simple. He's an interesting player. He might just surprise us, Bruce, and become an NHL hockey player. Listen, there's only like a 1 in 5 chance that's going to happen, I think, where he becomes like a player who plays 3 or 4 or 5 years in the NHL. But there is a chance he could still do that. If things fall right for him, because he does have the speed, and I think he is pretty smart. So if he can get that defensive part of the game down perfect,
Yeah.
Derek Ryan is that player. So he's
Right.
got to be Derek Ryan. And could he be Derek Ryan? Yeah, he could possibly be Derek Ryan. Next on our list is Connor Carrick. That's an interesting one. I don't know if they'll keep him around another game. Um, I think, but they probably know what they have in him already.
Hmm.
So it depends. Like they've got to play Stetcher, they've got to play Brown in games, and they got to sort out. But listen, I don't know. Troy Stetcher is coming off a injury, and I listened to a podcast, an ankle injury and in surgery, and it got
Hmm.
reinfected over the summer. I was
Oh,
listening to the podcast of he was on with
did not know that.
Jordan Schmaltz, I think it was some podcast like that. And yeah, he got that injury reinfected, and it's only been lately that he's been able to get skating. And he's a confident, feisty guy with lots of NHL games under his belt. But injury takes a lot out of a player. And I don't think there's a huge amount of separating Connor Carrick from a Troy Stetcher. And depending on Stetcher's injury and how he's playing, I could see Connor Carrick maybe getting another game. I think it's most likely he'll be sent down, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's not. And
Eventually, yeah.
he will be sent down eventually, but
Yeah.
will he get another game or two? And I think he might.
Hmm.
I think he might. Like I haven't seen Brown and Stetcher this year play. I didn't watch the Calgary game, so
Right.
can't say. But I saw this guy, and he was one of the best Oilers on the ice tonight. So, in my opinion,
Yeah. Now, there's no, again, he's a proven pro with, a couple hundred NHL games. There's no rush
yeah.
to declare him, off limits. He's got an NHL contract, and this is the time of year you want to see what the guy's got. And you're going to give him some practice, maybe one more game.
I think so. I'd like to see him in another game. I'd like to see if he
Hmm.
can do it again, like in a better game, like playing with
Yeah.
better teammates.
Yeah.
See how he actually fits in on the Oilers as a
Right.
third pairing D man, right?
Yes.
Put him with Kulak in a
Hmm.
game and see
Right.
how that goes. I would like to see that because I think he might be good. Okay, who's next?
Mike Hoffman.
Okay,
I think the PTO almost guarantees he'll be around basically till the end of camp.
he made some nice skill plays tonight. Nice
Looked good on the
pass
power
out.
play, eh?
Yeah,
He
he's got
looked
some
looked
skill.
looked like he was very comfortable in the power play, just playing the sidewall there and whipping the passes around.
Yeah,
He's done
yeah.
that a few hundred times. You could just tell. And so, not that the Oilers are necessarily looking for a power player, which is kind of unfortunate for him. But again, there's no reason to rush him out of here. He's a skilled, experienced NHL player. Has a 200 odd goals in the NHL. So I'll give him the full look. He'll probably get at least two more games.
What number is Lane Peterson, by the way? Did we miss him? Is he
Maybe we did. He's number
okay?
26.
26. Okay, we
Yeah,
missed him. So I'll go
we did.
back to him.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not feeling Bruce. Like, didn't notice
Mhm.
him. Didn't see him well. Didn't see him make an impact on the game. Have yet to see that. I think I've seen him a few times, and I'm just not. I'm just not. I don't see the NHL transferable skills in Peterson's game. And I could be, listen, this is just glimpses of the player. I could be wrong. I'm just giving my impression, and
Mhm.
that's my take. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got sent down. But again, he is on a what kind of contract? NHL contract.
NHL contract.
And they might want to give him one more game, although like they've got Philp and Hamblin, and I think both of
Yeah.
those guys are ahead of him.
Hmm.
So they might just think, hey, time to this is a competition. Those two guys played better than you did in the Winnipeg game. You didn't come through. And
Yeah.
is that too harsh? But that's how I see
No,
it.
I don't think he played his best game tonight, but he needed to. And he just didn't really have it. He had like 0 shot attempts in this game, 4 hits. Like he was at least trying to bring a little bit of physicality, but two giveaways. Like that's his full stat line, and break even on penalty or on faceoffs. But he, as you say, difficult to know. I got very few notes on the guy because I just didn't notice him a whole hell of a lot.
Well, that line kind of got shortchanged on ice time. I thought he was with DeYoung and Griffith, and Seth Griffith
Yeah.
is not like I just don't see an NHL like he's a minor league scorer, and he
Right.
struggles with the speed, like the size and the
Hmm.
of the. So he had the toughest line mates,
Yes.
Peterson. He didn't get any favors done with his line mates. I would say he had the
Right.
weakest line mates of the three centers. Maybe if you
Hmm.
put him with Brown and Yanmark, he would have looked better. So
Right.
he could get another game too. He's kind of like Carrick, where they might want to see one more game out of it because you don't want to play
Hmm.
McDavid and Draisaitl and too much in the preseason, right? They don't need more than one or two more games, honestly. I don't think so. I could see them holding on to Lane Peterson and giving him maybe a chance with slightly better line mates. But I'm not sure that I see that kind of defensive acumen that I see from that I'm sensing from Hamblin and Philp in Lane Peterson. And he might be like an offensive player at the AHL level, decent two-way player at the AHL level who just doesn't, which is a really high level of hockey player, but often struggles then to transfer that into the NHL.
He was a good AHLer last year.
He
I
was,
think he is
yeah,
a good AHLer, but uh, tonight, and in this test with weaker line mates against a strong team. Not that Winnipeg was like 20 deep in NHLers either, though,
yeah.
and it just really wasn't clicking for him. So
No, it wasn't.
uh, maybe they want to keep that cluster of centers for
Yeah,
a couple more days of practice, and maybe he gets another game, but he would be on the uh, uh, walking the plank already. I would think with this numbers game being what it is.
I could see all three of those guys actually starting the next game, Bruce. Like it's not till Saturday,
Right.
and then you'd play one NHL center like McDavid or Draisaitl or Henrique, and you'd go with those guys because you don't really need to play the other players unless they want to play and think it would be good for their fitness and timing for the regular season. There's no
Right.
reason to get those other players in these meaningless games. So it would be meaningful for these other guys to get another chance. So there's a possibility to keep all three of them.
Knobloch was talking about four games. He wanted to get most of his
Yeah, you
players
said
into
that.
four games,
Oh, okay.
and most of them have only played one, right? Of the
So
big
it's
guys.
clock's ticking.
So if they play three of the remaining four games, that doesn't leave a whole lot of ice time to share among the other guys.
Yeah, which means
So
Peterson will probably be sent down tomorrow. All right,
maybe
Noel Hoffenmeyer.
high event game, eh? Like he played a lot. He had the most shots on the team. He had the most minutes. He had some just brutal moments though in this
He
game.
he did. He's
And
going down. He's going down. He
he's
struggled.
eventually going down. And
I think he's going down tomorrow. Like that would be my
mhm.
bet. Yeah.
I mean, the one play that caught my eye honestly was early in the game, and he was walking out of his own zone with the puck, and he had a winger striding up the sidewall away from the benches, and he was wide open, and he missed the guy with the outlet pass that should have just been just dead simple. And he missed him by like 5 feet. It wasn't even close. And it didn't go for icing, but it did go for Winnipeg immediately bringing the puck back and putting it in Edmonton's end and causing some trouble. And then on that sequence, he was unable to tie up his man, and the guy got a real dangerous shot on net. So the reason they had the puck was because he hadn't taken care of it, and then when they did have the puck, he wasn't able to snuff out his man. And he had some okay moments. Like he's kind of a high event player, but uh, high event is not always good.
It's yeah, his puck skills to me aren't there um to stick around for another game. So the next guy on our list is Cam Dineen. Depending on Nurse's health, like which we don't really know
Right.
a whole lot about. Like maybe they're going to need another left shot defenseman to start the
Hmm.
year. So maybe Dineen sticks around for another game. He got burnt on a goal against. He got passed through on this. They broke in and they passed through him and I think it was De Jong in the slot for a goal in the third period. So he had a bad moment, but generally speaking, he's really sharp with the puck. He's calm with the puck. He moves it well. He's a smart hockey player. He's a good hockey player. Like I like this kind of player. If he was like 3 inches taller, he'd probably be in the NHL. Maybe his skating isn't quite at the NHL level, but it's not bad, and he is really good with the puck, very calm. So he could get another game depending on Nurse's health. If they're thinking Nurse is ready to go in the next week, I think Dineen will be sent down though.
Yeah, it's coming. He's one of several guys you can just sort of look at him and say, well, that's a pretty good player for Bakersfield. But in the NHL, he's just going to look, his offensive game is going to be suppressed and his defensive deficiencies are going to be exposed. And you could probably say the same thing about Dineen and about Carrick and about really all of those. Hoffenmeyer, yeah. And they're all like okay players at the AHL. The one that I'm liking the most so far that didn't play tonight was Gleason.
Well, that's it.
He's played 2 good games.
If they're going to keep anyone on the left side, right, it's going to be Gleason, who has shown consistently in the last couple of years that he's just a cut above the other guys. Now, Carrick, I quite like Carrick, so we'll see. The last guy on our list, Maximus Wanner. Bruce, what did you think of him tonight?
He tried hard.
Yeah.
3 hits, 2 takeaways, 1 block shot. He was getting in the way sometimes, but too many times he was in the right place, but he was a split second late to make the play, or the guy was just a little bit too fast that he wasn't able to contain him. And he's just going to need to up the tempo of his game. And he's just not there yet. I mean, he's a 21-year-old, lanky, big, probably somewhat clumsy, young defenseman. And those guys always take time, in my experience, to.
Yeah, he's got to improve his skating and puck skills, like his puck moving. He missed a lot of passes, and his skating he got beat a few times. I noticed on he got beat in the neutral zone once. They passed it by him. So his reading of the game, he's got a ways to go. He is a toolsy player in that he's big, and he can win battles in the corner, and he can move the puck a bit, but he's really got to pick it up. And he's got some time to do it. He's kind of got that Theo Peckham kind of game. He's a tough guy. So we'll see. That was a tough game for him. So
right.
I do think he will be. I think he'll be sent down after that.
Nino Niederreiter, he just misjudged how fast he was, and he wasn't able to cut him off as he went kind of wide side on him and hammered a good shot on net. And on the first goal, he was in a good spot, but he just wasn't able to suppress the shot. The guy was just quicker and better than him in that moment.
Well, he failed to cover the guy in the slot. Like he left him, and he just got beat on the puck battle, and so it was a tough night for him. The last guy on our list is the goalie.
Yeah.
And Colin Delia, and I think Rodrigue's still around, is he?
Yes.
I think that'll be the last we'll probably see of Colin Delia. We'll probably see maybe Rodrigue but we might see Rodrigue get sent down too. Both of them might just go, but and then
not right away. They'll keep 3.
Okay, they'll keep 3. Yeah, okay. So I would guess they'd keep Rodrigue. But
yes, yeah, I think so too. And Delia, I mean, he came in, he faced a shot and made a good save right away, but then he got beat on one in like the second minute that he was in there. And then he had a dreadful turnover where he came up to clean up the mess that the defenseman and forward had left, mishandling the puck, and he came out of his crease to handle it, and he bounced it off of Lowry's shin pad, and Lowry was just able to beat him around the net on the wraparound, and it was just one of those Mike Smith type goals that just make you wince. And it's got to hurt for a guy who's trying to make a good impression on a new team to give up a stinker like that, but that will not have helped his chances.
Also on defense, they still have Kemp and Gleason around, of course.
Right.
So, and Let me just see. At forward, they've got Lavoie around, who wasn't there tonight.
He's playing. He's got an injury.
Oh, he does. Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's a tough break for him.
Yep.
So, and they got Dermott still. So Dermott's on the left side, Gleason. So I think Dineen will actually get sent down tomorrow because they've got both Dermott and Gleason.
Yeah, and Dermott's on the PTO, and he'll get the same treatment as Hoffman. I think he'll get the full camp.
Carrick will get sent down probably because they have Kemp, Stetcher, and Brown. So lots of guys left. They want to see. Although again, Stetcher's injury and Brown's ineffectual play, from what I've heard at least, may change minds on that count, but I doubt it.
Brown had a good first game and a not good second game.
Okay, I haven't seen him play, so I can't say. Don't know about him. All right, Bruce. Anything else? Are we done?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much takeaway more from that game. I did want to give a little shout out tonight, David. I ran in one of my neighbors this week. This is kind of cool. This tells you about the global reach of the cult of hockey. I had a chat with my neighbor, and she came to the realization that she knew my name, that I was sort of the Bruce that does the Cult of Hockey podcast. And she said her name's Joan, and she and her husband Howard watch the Cult of Hockey podcast just up the street here in St. Albert. But their son Eric in France watches us, and their other son Stephen in Japan watches us. So that's like a third of the way around the world, and then another third of the way around the world, and then all the way back here to St. Albert and Edmonton. So how's that for, right around it's like 8 time zones and then 9 more time zones to these 3 countries. So 3 continents, 1 family, and they're all cult of hockey fans. So
I think that people relate to, because we're Edmonton guys, lifelong Edmonton guys, talking the Oilers and talking a little bit of Edmonton now and then. I just think it's a taste of home for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Just a couple of fans watching the game, right?
Indeed.
Oh.
I'm looking for this one thing here. Why can't I find it? Maybe it's not here. Let me just give me 1 second. Bruce.
All right. Well, hi to Joan and Howard and Eric and Stephen. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on here. My stupid internet is so slow in this room. Let me see if I can make this work. We'll just have to wait till next podcast to deal with this other thing. All right, Bruce. Next game Saturday night against who? Who do we play Saturday?
Well, we're now got the western half of the preseason, so it's Seattle, and Vancouver next week. After Winnipeg, Calgary, and Winnipeg this week. So that's Seattle on Saturday night. And then finally Monday they play Vancouver. Only the Vancouver games are televised by Sportsnet, who's showing all the Vancouver games, but none of the other ones for Oilers fans. So
the Vancouver game is
Monday and Friday they play the Canucks. And both those games will be on too. And by then, the Oilers will have a team that somewhat resembles the Edmonton Oilers. Hopefully, they won't get blasted 6-1.
All right. Here, I found what I was looking for. So the last little while, Patrick Phillips, who's a graphic designer, has been preparing images for our podcast. And he has his own podcast, The Oilers Fanatic. And I want to give a shout out to his podcast. And I want to thank Patrick for making the graphics for our recent podcast. Much appreciated. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Good work. Excellent work.
Thank you, Patrick.
All righty, Bruce. Good to talk to you. Thanks for talking tonight.
Right. Now I get to write up the rest of this pig.
There you go.
Oh, well, there's only one of these Winnipeg games a year that's quite like this one. It's just the grind. Part of the grind.
You love this game. You love this game. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.